Hello. I am here to talk about the previews catalog. As it seems, that's all I do on this channel anymore, but who knows for how much longer. It's a miracle that this guy exists, but it came out, and I'm going to talk about what's in there. Diamond distribution is spiraling quickly. It's frankly kind of a miracle this thing exists, or just a grotesque act of stupidity, whichever you choose. But I know it's been several months now. I've been saying maybe this is the last one, so maybe I'll be doing this for July. Who knows? All right, let's get into it. The little catalogs. The irony being that none of the companies here are distributed through Diamond anymore. So odds are these will keep coming no matter what. It's all the other stuff that we'll lose. So I'll start with IDW. There was one thing in here I thought was worth pointing out. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Journeys #1. Why this is being reprinted in single issues instead of in a big book, I honestly don't know. They've done everything else in big books. This is notable, though. It's the 4th volume of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles done by Peter Laird and Jim Lawson. And when Peter Laird sold the Turtles to whichever conglomerate bought them, I can't remember, he actually reserved the right to continue this if he so chose. I don't know that he's going to do that. Maybe this is just reprinting. But these are really hard to find, rare comics. I'm not even sure I was aware they were coming out at the time. I think it was just off my radar. But I thought I'd mention it. I like the old Turtle stuff, and I'm always a sucker for obscurity. From Image. Space Opera Xanadax, Across the Unknown Dimensions of the Galaxy. This is an original graphic novel, trade paperback by Tom Scioli. I'm mentioning this more for people who might be interested. I'm kind of off of Scioli's whole stick. It's not terrible, but it's just doesn't interest me too much nowadays. Someone whose shtick does interest me, Erik Larsen, Savage Dragon, Ultimate Collection Volume 4. I have not been buying these big hardcover collections. They usually come with a little bit of extra material at the back. I have managed to find the first 2 used, however, and so if I keep having luck with that, I will continue to grab them. Guess I'll also just note for those out there that might care, Spawn Vault Edition Volume 3. This is all Greg Capullo art, the guy who followed McFarlane on Spawn. I really only mention this because the first 2 volumes of these Spawn Vault Editions are out of print and very hard to find, at least to the most recent to my knowledge. So I figured I would give a shout out to anybody who'd care about this sort of thing. Very pricey, but if the nostalgia is strong enough or you love Capullo, there you go. From DC. Let's see what they have here. I was just talking to a friend of mine this week about the DC Finest books. These are the thicker paperback trades, $40 a pop, but usually 500, 600 pages. And I was telling him these are pretty nice looking books, but it's only a matter of time before they start doing just total dog shit. And here we are. Supergirl, Static, Batman The Long Halloween. I know that story has a lot of fans. I'm not one of them, though. But still, $40 is a lot for this kind of material, but if it's something you want, they're actually pretty good packages. I managed to get one on deep discount at a Barnes and Nobles that was kind of closing out their stock of the Silver Age Aquaman. Stuff looks pretty good, you know. I'd prefer it on newsprint, but you know, you take what you can get for some of this material. It's hard to find. Still haven't seen any that I'd be willing to pay $40 for, but the other end of the spectrum, an omnibus, The Spectre by John Ostrander and Tom Mandrake, Omnibus Volume 1. I think this series ran for 60-ish issues, so probably there will be 2 volumes collecting the whole thing, assuming enough people buy this one, of course. I like John Ostrander. This is a series I'd be interested in. Don't know that I need it in an omnibus format, but I have looked into the single issues, and they're not cheap anymore if you're buying them all at once. Sometimes you can find those old series at a bargain, but not that one. And then just a collection, Batman Black and White Compendium, and this gathers together, I believe, Black and White Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and some random black and white tales that appeared in other comics. I thought there was a 4th volume of Batman Black and White, so maybe that's not included in this. This thing is 1,280 pages for $60. Page to price, that's a pretty good deal. But I don't know how many of these comics I would actually recommend wholeheartedly. But thought I would mention it here. Marvel, I saw nothing I was interested in talking about. On to the big catalog. Alright. The catalog does feel a little thinner this month. From Boom, love this, that all these covers are just black. They don't have access to this information. And right after this was done, it was announced that they wouldn't be carrying them anyway. Hero Squared Complete Collection by Keith Giffen, J.M. DeMatteis, Joe Abraham, and various. This is a pretty good deal. $20, 464 pages. At regular size. I think some of the older ones were printed at a trim, kind of manga size. I don't really remember much about this series, but I do remember enjoying it at the time. I liked it. I love Giffen and DeMatteis. I don't know how the hell you say the guy's name. But I've always liked their partnership. That to me is a pretty good deal for some kind of fun comics. From Dark Horse, Orphan and the Five Beasts, Bath of Blood #1, a new Orphan and Five Beasts series by James Stokoe. This is the sort of thing I'd probably wait for the trade on, but maybe not. I don't know. But I love Stokoe, and I'm happy to see him doing something of his own. I know he had gone into doing, Godzilla and Aliens and Marvel stuff for a while, so would love to see him keep doing his own thing. Something I'm not super interested in, but I thought I'd mention it. Jim Starlin's Dreadstar Omnibus Volume 1. This collects a couple of the early graphic novels, Metamorphosis Odyssey, The Price, and stories from Epic Illustrated, Dreadstar 1 through 8. It's over 500 pages, $40. Not too bad. I think if you'd have to be over a certain age to have any sort of attachment to this material, but if you are of a certain age, go for it. All right, I covered IDW in their little side catalog, but this one I had to point out just to be kind of a dickhead. IDW Dark. And it's the Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, all these covers, Event Horizon, Blood Honey, which I don't know what that is. Anyway, this is lame as shit, if this is supposed to be their Vertigo line or something. First time I ever heard that term, and I just kind of had to mock it for a minute. As usual, my positivity radiates throughout these videos. From Abrams Comic Arts, Marvel Arts, Avengers and the Veracity Trap hardcover, written by Chip Kidd, the well-known designer, art and cover by Michael Cho, who can draw his ass off. He's done lots of superhero covers over the years, and now he's got a calling it a graphic novel would be a stretch. It's 64 pages, but it's going to be full color, 8 by 11, and he really can draw. So I will admit I'm very curious to see what that looks like. All right. Okay. Shout out to my friend Jeremy who gave me a heads up this existed. From Book Palace, David Wright's Carol Day Showcase. Carol Day is an obscure and seldom seen newspaper strip from the United Kingdom. Gorgeously drawn. To my knowledge, the only collections that have been available in the last few years are 2 privately funded artist editions, which went for, I think, $350 brand new. And I'm sure those sold out instantly and are probably already going for more money. So this is pretty exciting to see that there's a small collection. It's only 84 pages, but it is a nice big 9 by 12 size. Very curious to see this strip. It seems to have engendered a lot of passion from original art collectors. Probably because it's just a great example of old school illustrative style that isn't super well known over here. People love to find things and be the first ones on board. From Cosmic Lion, Meat trade paperback, written by Stuart Moore, who I believe is a fairly notable writer of Vertigo-esque type material. Art by Matt Howarth, which is why I'm interested. This is now 6-7 months in a row they've had Matt Howarth material in here. Pretty cool to see. So yeah, very curious about that. And I'm not sure the last time I saw Matt Howarth drawing something for somebody else. It's probably been a really long time. From Drawn and Quarterly, Canon hardcover. No Association with Me. This is a 3N Canon, like the weapon. A graphic novel by Lee Lai, who did the book Stone Fruit for Fantagraphics. Stone Fruit is a phenomenal book, highly recommended, and I can't wait to see what Canon holds. I'm sure it's going to be a damn good one. From Mimi Pond, who did this book, Over Easy, and The Customer is Always Wrong. A new book, Do Admit, The Mitford Sisters and Me, hardcover. It's the story of the Mitford sisters, a group of sisters who married into prominent families and were very politically active. Some were communists, some were fascists. Very active socially about 100 years ago. And curious subject, big book, 444 pages. So that is interesting. From Fab Press, Sonic Sewer, Volume 1, a vinyl obsessive's guided tour through music history by Robin Bougie. Robin Bougie has done Cinema Sewer for many, many years. Let's say 34 individual issues, 8 collected books, 25 years of doing Cinema Sewer devoted to sort of off the beaten path film, should we say. Also did a couple issues devoted to adult comics. And of course, I'm already forgetting what that's called. But if you go look up Robin Bougie, you'll find out what it is. Highly recommend those. They're great. And that's really why I'm highlighting this. Not because I really care about this or plan to buy it. But this guy has a lot of diehards. People have been following him for a long time, and he does do very good work. So, and I have seen him post about music sometimes on Instagram, always very informative, deep cut stuff, things you'll never have heard of. He's clearly very knowledgeable, and so if that sounds like it's of any interest to you, I would check it out. All right, from our friends at Fantagraphics. My Favorite Thing is Monsters box set, book 1 and 2. This is just a box set of the 2 books. But if you missed it up before now, here's a chance to grab them all together in a nice slipcase. The Complete Hate Volume 1. This is the first 15 issues of Hate. Used to be called Buddy Does Seattle. A Volume 2 will be forthcoming. That was previously called Buddy Does Jersey. Collecting the full run of Hate, which has now been collected several times over. But it seems to have an almost never-ending audience. And it's a work that I think is spectacular, though definitely seems out of step with our times. But I think that speaks morely of our times than it does of the work. Buff Soul by Moa Romanova. Sorry if I butchered that. Their previous book was called Goblin Girl from Fantagraphics. This is their new one. Trying to remember if Romanova is a foreign book or not. I don't know. Anyway, coming. Look sharp. The Moon Prince by Kevin Frazier Much, who I believe is Australian. And I've read a couple of his books, also published by Fantagraphics. Kind of an interesting cartoonist. This is the first time he's done something for younger readers. It's a hefty one, though. 448 pages, full color, sort of a fantasy book. Looks really interesting. We'll see how that goes. Prince Valiant, Volume 30. We're now up to 1996, which is crazy. 60 years into the strip. Roy Number 1 by Gilbert and Natalia Hernandez. Natalia is Gilbert's daughter. And so I believe there's a collaboration, and then I think she has her own story in here. She has a really nice drawing style. So just an old-fashioned comic book. Worth checking out if you have an interest in their work. From Fantagraphics Underground, The Complete Megaton Man Universe, Volume 1, the 1980s. This is all the Megaton Man stuff that was printed by Kitchen Sink originally. Giant book, 600 pages. The Megaton Man stuff is a lot of fun. Don Simpson can draw his ass off. Pretty cool. It's being collected. Volume 2 will be coming soon. It collects the stuff from the 90s, all the Bizarre Heroes stuff. Kind of amazing it's getting collected. From Walker Tate, who I'm not familiar with, Laser Eye Surgery, a slim graphic novel. Very curious about that. And EC Fan Addict Fanzine number 7, edited by Grant Geisman and Roger Hill, the late Roger Hill. If you're a EC fan, these books are great. It's called a fanzine, but they're really paperback books. Really well done, great stuff. And they always sell out. So maybe not right away, but it will sell out. So if you're at all interested, keep it on your radar. All right, from a company, Graphic Mundi, Marry Me a Little. This is done by the cartoonist Rob. I guess he's in the credits here. He's called Robert Kirby, and on the cover he's called Rob Kirby. And this is a autobiographical graphic novel about gay marriage. Rob Kirby edited an anthology, which name escapes me. I apologize. Anyway, Google Rob Kirby. You'll figure it out. A pretty well-regarded queer anthology a few years ago. Anyway, a nice autobiographical book that is of interest. From Humanoids, Metal Hurlant #1. If I'm reading this correctly, okay, a quarterly anthology published by Humanoids. Each volume of Metal Hurlant will feature 272 pages of one-of-a-kind, otherworldly literary experience. The way I took this was that it was reprinting the original Metal Hurlant. But I honestly don't know if that's true. But when it says writer-artist, Moebius, Philippe Druillet, Jean-Pierre Dionnet, and many, many more. So here's a whole bunch of many, many more. And all these are, or at least most of these are new people. Matthew Allison, James Stokoe. So yeah, I don't know really what this is, but it does look very intriguing to me. $30, 272 pages, full color. Yeah, I'm definitely in. I'm curious to find out what it is. I'd like to know how much is new and old. I don't really want to buy stuff I already have. At the same time, those are the people that I want their stuff, not necessarily all the new people. Though it is a nice list of names for sure. Boy, Killefer, Durf, Kaza. Yeah, there's some real people here. Very interesting. If anybody knows any more about this, drop it in the comments. I would appreciate being informed. I'm sure the random passersby would appreciate it as well. From Living the Line, I guess this is a new printing, My Gorilla Family. For some reason I thought this was a new one, but maybe I'm mistaken. Anyway, it's the 5th volume from Smudge, a line of vintage horror, occult, and dark fantasy manga, curated by Ryan Holmberg, who I'm sure everyone's familiar with. Yeah. Yeah, it says new printing, but I'm really believing that maybe this is the first printing. Anyway, correct me if I'm mistaken. I don't remember seeing this one before. Fantastic cover. I have not read any of these, but I have not heard one bad thing about any of them. So, there you go. Buyer beware, but raves from all the readers who have sampled that line. New York Review of Books. This was a very surprising one to me. Hothead Paisan, Homicidal Lesbian Terrorist by Diane DiMassa. Hothead Paisan has been around for a really long time. A murderous icon of the 90s LGBTQ plus comic scene comes roaring back into print with a fresh edition. Yeah, the old Hothead Paisan collection, I've been seeing that in used bookstores for 30 years. So I was not expecting to see this as the new release from New York Review Books. They continue to surprise, though, in a good way. Yeah, pretty cool. From Taschen, I think most people are aware they've been printing those big editions of old Marvel comics, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Avengers, Silver Surfer, and they're just giant books. You can't really see my hands, can you? Giant books, and they're $200 a piece. But once again, the couple people I've talked to that have bought those rave about them, really enjoy them. Well, they're branching out. Walt Disney, Carl Barks Library, Donald Duck Volume 1, 1942 to 1950. 552 pages, 11 by 16. Full color. $200. That's a lot of goddamn money. Though I'm sure the books look amazing. But there you go. There was only one book in the manga section, and like an asshole, I did not write down the page number, but I don't think it really matters. It's Mao, Volume 21. I believe that's published by Viz. Let's see if I see it real quick. It's the Rumiko Takahashi, and I've mentioned it in 20 other videos, I think, so I'm not going to worry too much about showing it off. MAO Volume 21. There it is. Story and art by Rumiko Takahashi. That was the only manga I saw that I was interested in this month, pointing out. And that's it for this month's previews. Who knows if I'll be back next month with another one. If not, I'll actually have to exercise my brain and do a video on something else. Any comments, concerns, complaints, drop them in the comments. Let me know what you think. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Bye.